that's something that's really, you know, important. And tonight we have the opportunity to live what the Rebbe tells us to do by learning from the Rebbe, and hopefully get the clarity that we need to apply and implement and live these Torah, the Torah of our Rebbe. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Gila. And Gila currently lives in Irvine, California with her husband and her 6 children, Baruch Hashem, and she co-directs Chabad of North Irvine and is the director of the Chabad Hebrew School. And Gila has a program called Connecting Jewish Women, which connects and inspires Jewish women through all different kinds of programs that impact them and their communities and their families. And Gila will be speaking about Hashem and me.
Gail, you need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you.
It's something at the top.
No. Okay.
Gail will come back in a second.
Okay. Just wait. Okay, I think, is Gila back?
The host can actually get her on if you have a way of doing it. The host of the thing can get her on.
Hello, Gila. Is your sound working? No. Okay, so due to technical difficulties, I think while Gila's figuring this out, we're going to go to Natalie. Okay, so Natalie Malinsky lives in the Five Towns, New York. She is married and a proud mother of 6 children, Baruch Hashem, and she's lived and worked and visited many countries. And when in Johannesburg, she worked for the Beis Din teaching Jewish conversion classes for 10 years, and in Sydney and as well as Johannesburg. And she's written plays for underprivileged communities in Limpopo, South Africa. And she is passionate about writing, teaching, and meeting new people and opening her home to many a Shabbos guests. And Natalie will be speaking about the Rebbe and me.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Just so that I know. Yes, I am muting myself. You can? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. I miss everyone. I think it's amazing what we can learn from these crazy times, these Corona crazy times. Gimmel Tammuz is about connecting to the Rebbe in a different way. It's the only way that I know how to connect, but it's not the original way, the way that was intended. I can't even imagine how incredible it must have been to be able to actually write a letter to the Rebbe and ask for a bracha or have a question and actually get a direct answer. But within the past few months, the whole world changed and we had to learn to communicate in new ways. Not the best ways, person to person, I think is best. but the limitations of time and space have been transcended. I'm speaking now in South Africa. I'm part of groups and friends in Australia and South Africa that I wasn't part of before because of this new way of communicating. And I love it, and I hope it continues. And it reminds me of Gimmel Tammuz a little bit, like how the river is no longer limited by a body. And I was really excited about this topic, the river and me, because I have so many personal feelings and stories of and how the river is involved in my life. And then I sat down to write my thoughts, and the first word that came to mind was his kashrus, and I went blank. Like, what is it? Like, if the translation is connection, what does that mean? Is it a relationship? Because a relationship is a two-way thing. Would the river ever stop thinking about you? And why is it so special to me? So I had to do some homework and go back to the source and simple facts. And when I tried to connect again, I learned that there were two ways. I looked back and learned and realized two ways: emotionally and intellectually. So we all know that there's a river and a nasi and the head, and we're the guf. And by connecting to the river, we're connecting to something greater than ourselves, and he's connecting us to ourselves, the part of ourselves that isn't limited by the limits and fears that we give ourselves. We know if the river gives us a bracha, it's going to happen, not because of me, because I've got the river and the river's force and power behind me. And then there's understanding the river emotionally, and that's the feelings we have. So what makes you, we can write it in the comments, what makes you, me, everyone, what makes you get feelings and emotions that connect you to the river? Is it watching the river's devotion for hours, giving out dollars? His sitters, watching videos. For me, it's stories. I love stories. I love writing them, watching them, telling them, and that's what connects me to the river. So of all the powerful stories I've heard and experienced, the most life-changing one for me was a video I watched as I was going to Yechidus with my son Eli after 1 month of very strong chemotherapy in my new country, America, that I now lived in for a month without my other kids. And he had just finished a month of chemo, and we wanted to get a Yechidus with the river. And we were waiting to find out if the results, if the chemo had worked. So I was waiting for a very specific bracha. And as I was waiting in Yechidus, I was just looking for clues, for brachas, for the river to talk to me in some way. But nothing miraculous happened. I wasn't feeling very spiritual. I'd prayed there many times. This time I actually felt very empty and tired. And there was a video, so I watched the video. Come on, river. Is it possible to get a clear answer? Nothing that spoke to me came on. Just before I walked in, I don't know if you guys know this video. It's actually a famous video. It's a woman and she's talking to the river and she's very emotional and passionate. And there's quite an intense exchange between her and the river. She's saying, river, you must bring Mashiach. He's saying, she must bring Mashiach. She's saying he must, and the river said he's done everything, it's up to her, and the river ends off, and this is, as I'm walking in, he says, I want to hear the Soros Tovis. And I respond in my mind, if the river wants to hear the Soros Tovis, then the river must give me a bracha. the bracha that I want, and I'll give the Rebbe Besoros Tovos. His kashrus is not a feeling or a spiritual goal. It's a reflection of the bond that we have that only needs to be revealed. And I didn't feel anything extraordinary in this room. In fact, out of all the times I'd been in the Rebbe's room, this was the least inspiring. But something did happen. The bond was revealed, because when I walked out a soldier. If the Rebbe wants the Besoros Tovos, I'll send it. No matter what the test results reveal, the Rebbe will get good news. And I was really, really amazed and surprised at how much Besoros Tovos there was to report daily, all the time. Whether I was in the hospital, at home, so much good in the world. And I knew how much nachas the Rebbe would get from his chassidim and every yid that helped. And so I wrote about the kindness that was done for me and anything that made me or Eli or the family happy. So I wrote about everyone here, my South African community, and I sent emails, and I went to the Rebbe, and I went to the Ohel, and I asked, and I still ask, that all the chesed and all the mitzvahs that you did and do, and I asked, it should all bring Mashiach. When conventional chemo treatment failed, we looked into immunotherapy and it was discovered in Israel and brought to America. The question was, do we do chemo again or try an experimental therapy, which was life-saving, life-threatening? He would be the 9th to try this experiment, and not everyone survived. And this is the treatment that gave me a really high temperature, and I knew I had an army in Africa, thanks again, praying for me. And then I just wanted to share a bit of hashgacha pratis on the decision we made. So while we were deciding on which treatment to do, we ran into Rabbi Ullman. I don't know if anyone knows Rabbi Ullman, but he's the IVF fertility rabbi medical genius. He does medicine in general. So Yosef saw him in 770. He actually runs based in Sydney, and I worked for him when I was teaching converts there. And Yosef saw him in 770 and asked him if he'd ever heard of immunotherapy. He said he had. He had personally written to the Rebbe about it for a congregant, and the Rebbe was very positive about it. And they gave us a lot of confidence. And it was amazing to be in 770 and get an answer directly there. So once you're a chassid, you're always a chassid, because the Rebbe will never stop thinking about you. And just like parents are forever united with children, one source, the same is true of the Rebbe. And something that helps me think of how great the Rebbe is how he responded to all the letters that he received. There's one woman writing about the fact that she's so overwhelmed, and the Rebbe writes to get a cleaner. And she says she's still overwhelmed. He says, so get another cleaner, get more help. At the same time, he's writing to someone that's in war, someone that's in jail, someone that's buying a house, that's getting married, and it's all with love. Because when you care about someone, you want to know about all aspects of their lives. And I feel that when I'm reading the letters, I am all these people that have been writing letters, because one day I'm a hero or a saint, and the next day mad woman. It changes, and the Rebbe wants to hear it all, because he wants to connect to us, just like you want to connect when you're speaking to friends, to everyone. If you've got a friend and they've got a simcha, you want to know all the details. I find that the best therapy for me is to go to the Ohel, write down my worries on paper, and then tear them up and give them over to the Rebbe. Writing about good news about the Besoros Tovos has really transformed my life, and it brought light to a very difficult time, and it made ordinary days a blessing. Ordinary, boring days a blessing. so I have a bit of a free spirit, and my agenda is generally everyone has their own way of bringing light to the world. But I definitely think there's something special about writing it down, like writing good things that happen to you and to friends and to community. There's something so special about writing it down. And what I love about my email, and I live very close to the Ohel, so I can go there often, but I email a lot. And the amazing thing about writing, I write Besoros Tovus, Raphael, Eliyahu, Moshe at the top. And I always get a message that it's been sent with Besoros Tovus, Raphael, Eliyahu, Moshe. So you, if the title is Besoros Tovus, you always get the Besoros Tovus stuff. And so I definitely would encourage that writing, emailing, it's so easy from the phone, from your phone to the Rebbe. And then the Besoros Tovus that we write for ourselves and for others should bring us Mashiach. We should hear the ultimate Besoros Tovus with Mashiach. And through our bond with the Rebbe, we're connected to our source and the source of our source. And looking forward to being face to face with my friends from around the world, from South Africa especially, and with the Rebbe. Just like the world has changed so quickly and shut down, and the whole world's just focused and worried about one thing, we saw how quickly things can change. It should be the same, and it should be now, and it should be with Mashiach. Looking forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie. I just want to point out that if anybody has any questions for our speakers or for myself or based on the videos, please send it in the chat and we will address it at the end. Hopefully, if we have any questions, we could direct it to the speakers to answer at the end. And I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Mishka Kesselman is a young mother. She was born and raised in Johannesburg, went to Torah Academy, was in seminary in Chitrik in Spas, and was a dorm counselor there as well. And she currently teaches in Benos Menachem and in Crown Heights, and is passionate about Chassidishkeit, music, and living life to its fullest. So over to you, Mishka. Oh, I see the chat is, hold on a second. Yeah, never mind. Sorry, over to you, Mishka. She's speaking about myself and others.
Okay, thank you. Just checking, can you hear me? Okay, good, thank you. So the topic that I'm speaking about tonight is my fellow and me, and particularly the Rebbe's perspective and the Rebbe's approach to how we interact and deal and look at others. So Mushka Kanta, she's a daughter of the Shluchim in Thailand, told us a story once that one Sukkot they were going to do Mivtzaim, and there was a woman who lived 45 minutes away from their Chabad house, and they wanted to go to her on Yom Tif to take her a little bit so that she could do the mitzvah. Now she lived far, it was 45 minutes away, but we do what we got to do, and for shlichus, so her and her brother did the walk and walked 45 minutes to her house to take her little bit esrog. And when they got there, they realized that they had left the esrog at home. So what do they do now? It's a far walk, but without the esrog, the lulav is useless. And they made the decision to walk back home 45 minutes, pick up the esrog, and go back again to her 45 minutes, and so that she could do the mitzvah, and then come back home 45 minutes. And